On today's episode of the Kev BK Beloved Show, amateurism is dead. Or is it? We're going to break down the NCAA finally deciding to pay the players and see how that works out. Before that, since my Celtics are in the finals, we're going to dispel all these Tatum narratives before we get there, just so we're all on the same page. But first was supposed to be a finals preview until somebody decided they didn't want to finish a sweep. Thanks, Dallas. Hit the music. Just playing. All credit in the world to the Minnesota Timberwolves, who went out there and saved their season. On the road, you got to give them credit for that. But I got some jokes. Y'all know me. I got some jokes. Number one, the one game that a couple Dallas Cowboys showed up was the playoff game that the Dallas Mavericks choked. Come on now. The jokes write themselves on that one. And I'm sure by the time some of you hear this, Stephen A has already cracked these jokes either on Twitter, Get Up, or First Take. Don't care. I'm doing it right after the game, so I did it first. More importantly, though, everybody, I would like to welcome Karl Anthony Towns to the Western Conference Finals. 20 second half points, 7 for 10 from the field in the second half, was 9 for 13 for the entire game, 4 for 5 from 3. It's like it finally clicked. Hey, I'm minimum 20 pounds and 3 inches taller than every other big on the floor. I don't have to take more than 5 threes. Maybe I could take my big ass to the paint in the mid-range every once in a while and see how that works out for me. Turned out pretty well. And for someone who we get on his plus minus all the time, he had the highest plus minus out of everybody on the Timberwolves of plus 15. Granted, Anthony Edwards had half of that because he played 40 minutes and he didn't foul out like Karl Anthony Towns. I gotta stop giving Karl these backhanded compliments. Karl played great. End of sentence. Anthony Edwards with a 29-10 with a season on the line in the fourth quarter, got 3 major buckets to keep him in the game. Gotta salute it. Rudy Gobert with the double-double also managed to defend without fouling in the fourth quarter. I was sure he was gonna foul out too, but he didn't. Shout out to him. Now we gotta go over to the Mavericks. And this is the downside of Luka Doncic, if there is one for someone who's a walking 39-9. It's when the shot isn't falling, he's not gonna stop shooting. He went 7 for 21. That is 30%. That's awful by all standards, especially for him. But he's not gonna stop. He's gonna keep shooting. Still got a triple-double. He went for 28, 10, and 15, but he got 10 of those off free throws and was a minus 13 plus minus. We got 42 minutes from Kyrie. It looked more like OKC series Kyrie, where he's like, I'm gonna wait a little bit to step on the gas. I'm gonna pick my spots a little bit more. I don't know. It really seemed like Dallas this entire game was kind of waiting for Minnesota to take big leads before they really decided to kick it into high gear. They just got comfortable with making those late game comebacks, and that's all well and good when you already got it going a little bit in the game. But if it's not already in the rhythm of the game, sometimes shit don't work out that way and you're in the fourth quarter and you end up losing. But I'm almost thankful to the Timberwolves right now because I didn't know how much NBA final stuff I wanted to do this podcast, considering next week, the day after this podcast comes out, would be the first game of the NBA finals. So I could have emptied a clip on that day. So I still got all my notes for Dallas and Boston, and I'd be more than happy to switch on over to Boston and Timberwolves notes in the event that the Timberwolves actually win. That would be super fun for me. Real quick on the Boston Celtics before we get to our next topic. I am so proud of this team. For where we are right now, I know job's not finished, and I love Kobe Bryant too. I know everyone's like, save the pride for when we're done. Fuck that. Enjoy the moment right now, bro. Enjoy it right now. You're not guaranteed a trip to the finals. Nobody is. The Nuggets thought they were. Their ass is at home right now. You got to cherish these moments. And the thing I really took away from the Pacers series, I know everyone's doing the Celtics have the cakewalk to the finals thing. The rings shine all the same. Do what you want with that information. Every single game the Celtics won, with the exception of game 2, there were multiple chances for the Celtics to choke that game away, and they did not. After an entire season, not even a whole season, the entire Tatum and Jaylen Brown run, those late games where they have to make those late comebacks, I watched them lose those games for 7 years. No matter who they're playing, I've watched them lose those games for almost a decade, and they won all of them. Again, I don't care who's on the other side of the floor, because I've never cared who's on the other side of the floor for the Celtics. It's never been about them. It's been about us. And someone on Twitter, I can't remember the name right now. If I could find it, while I'm editing, I'll put it in for the video. Says something to the effect of, you know that feeling you get when you're watching your team and they end up losing and you're like, you know what? They played great, hard-fought game. They ended up losing in the end. You got to take that on the chest. You'll get them next time. I have never felt that way about a Celtics loss a day in my life because we don't lose like that. We lose because we play like idiots. I have never seen the Celtics play their best and lose, ever, in the past, we'll call it since the bubble season. Later in this podcast, we do the entire arc of Jayson Tatum's career that kind of paints the picture of this, but since the bubble season, I have yet to see the Celtics play at their fullest potential and lose. Because it doesn't happen. This team has always been talented enough to do it. And now, they're in the finals with a chance to get it done. All I can ask for at this point in the season is a chance. The finals didn't happen yet. This is as good as it can be at this very moment. This is the highest point of success the Celtics can be at. And I'm proud of this team, bro. I'm proud of this team. And no matter who ends up winning this series between the T-Wolves and Dallas, because you never know how this turns out. No matter who ends up winning, I can't wait to see what my Celtics do to them. Now I'll address the cakewalk point. Guys, the Boston Celtics won 64 games this year. They were 14 games better than the rest of the Eastern Conference and 7 games better than the #1 seed in the West. I regret to inform you, this was going to happen anyways. This was always going to happen, injuries or otherwise. You want to tell me that the barely made the playoff Heat were going to knock off the Celtics if Jimmy Butler played, who hasn't been Jimmy Butler all year? You go ahead and believe that as the Celtics are in the finals. You going to tell me if Joel Embiid was healthy throughout the Knicks series that they lost, that they were going to end up pulling it out? All right, believe that if you want. But I said before the playoffs even started, if the Celtics wanted to be taken seriously as a playoff contender, none of these series should go more than 5 games. And none of them did. And I don't think they would have anyways, because it has never been about the team on the other side of the Boston Celtics. It has always been about, are the Boston Celtics going to show up today, or are they going to play like dickheads? And outside of the 2 losses, they haven't played like dickheads for the entire run of the playoffs. And now June 6th, the journey continues. With that, we'll take a quick break, and then we'll get to NBA team therapy. That was supposed to be 2 teams until Dallas decided they didn't want to close the damn series out. Welcome back to NBA Team Therapy, where I'm here to solve all the problems for the teams that just got eliminated. Let's see who my first patient is today. The Indiana Pacers. Come on in, guys. Great fight, great season. Your chief complaint here is self-awareness is what I want you to practice this year. But let's talk real quick. Where are you actually as a team compared to where you think you are? What do you take away from that Celtics series? Do you take away, yeah, we got swept, but all those games were close, and if we had Tyrese Halliburton, maybe we could have won? Sounds legit. Maybe. Or do you say we overachieved, we had a historic shooting day against the New York Knicks, and we can't rely on that next year? Let's see if we can change some things, which is the way I would go. Because short of the Tyrese Halliburton injury, priding yourself on losing a close sweep against the eventual NBA champions sounds a lot like the Los Angeles Lakers last year, who got gentlemen swept out the first round and had to play a playing game to get in. Let's see what this cap space situation is looking like. $56 million in available tax space until you hit the first apron of it. For people who don't know how the aprons work, once you hit the first apron of the tax is when you go over your allotted tax bills, and low market teams like Indiana aren't really inclined to pay luxury tax money. But here's the thing, they need to re-sign Pascal Siakam because he's not on the books for contract next year. And when he got traded to them mid-season, according to Woj, league-wide, it was pretty much known / agreed upon that part of the conditions for the Pacers trading for Siakam was they handshake deal gave him his 2-year, $80 million extension. Allegedly, because that's against NBA rules, but it's not a coincidence that every time a mid-season trade happens, that person who got traded to the team mid-season, short of anything cataclysmic happening, ends up getting a large extension. So that's $40 million gone for the next year anyways. Tyrese Halliburton is going to be earning more money than he originally was because he made All-NBA. That goes from $35 million to $40. So the cap situation isn't ideal if you want to take a big swing, but if you want to add some things on the margin, there is some room to play a little bit there. Now, modern NBA culture would say if you're looking to go over the hump, You get rid of the coach and look to get somebody else. My question to that would be, who are you going to get that's better than Rick Carlisle? Better than Rick Carlisle is not out on the coaching market. And Rick Carlisle is not the reason y'all lost this series. I can argue he's the reason it was so close. And this is back to where the self-awareness comes into play. Is the play style of the Pacers the reason they did not win this series? No, it isn't. It's the reason they got so far. It's the thing that made the Pacers so interesting all year long is this chaotic yet in control play style, which is how they've been able to make up for their lack of size and still dominate in points in the paint, because they're able to make all these defenses rotate and rotate and rotate again, into the point where their center standing in the corner, and then here comes Pascal Siakam on a slot cut straight to the rim. I know, I just watched 4 straight games of it against the Celtics. It's really annoying. And then the player I have the biggest question on for the Pacers, though, is Andrew Nembhard. Because here's where shit gets tricky. Do you truly believe that Andrew Nembhard is the player he showed you against the Celtics, or the player he was all year long? Will he be able to give you that type of production with Tyrese Halliburton back in the lineup, and his usage rate goes from 22.9 where it was in the Celtics series compared to 16 where it was during the regular season? The Miami Heat and Cleveland Cavaliers found themselves in a similar situation with Caleb Martin and Max Strus last year. Because they played so damn well against the Celtics, they ended up giving them big extensions, only for them to come back this year and not play nearly as well as they did in the playoffs. Because they didn't get the memo that all role players turn into Michael Jordan against the Celtics for God knows why. TJ McConnell, same thing. So let's look at the draft capital here. Looking at a first-round pick from Oklahoma City, Los Angeles Clippers, Utah, or Houston. It's pick swap on top of pick swap on top of pick swap. NBA draft capital is weird because all the trades. I'm not even going to try to get into it. They have a first-round pick this year. They have Milwaukee's second-round pick this year, and then no first-rounders for the rest of the decade because of the past Siakam trade, and they have nothing but second-rounders. So draft capital's bare, cap space is bare. The trade pieces on your team would be convince somebody Andrew Nembhard is the man. Maybe somebody really wants Nesmith based on how he defended Jayson Tatum in the playoffs. And Jalen Brunson, too. Let me give him his credit. They're going to do the thing I hate, aren't they? For y'all that are new here, the thing I hate the most when all teams do across all sport. My young team overachieved. We don't need to change anything. If we just get better over the summer, we could win it all next year. Which never, ever, 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 ever works. It never works, yet teams convince themselves that it works, and it never does. Good luck, Pacers. In celebration of my Boston Celtics making the NBA Finals again, I figured I'd take this time to clear up some Tatum narratives because the discourse has gotten weird, and since we have a week between now and the finals, I know it's gonna get even weirder, so I just want to take some time to dispel some things and just hit some talking points real quick so we can set some things straight before we start the finals, just so we can all be on even footing. I've reduced it down to 3 major reasons that I just think are flatly false. Reason 1, he's always been on a super team. I love hearing that one. False. I'm not one of those people that will talk about how bad the teammates are of my star player to make them feel better. I'm not that guy. I'm not a Chicago Bulls fan. And also, I feel like we've lost the plot on super teams. If you want to be honest, there's only really been 3 super teams since the term has been invented. The big 3 in Boston, the Miami Heatles, the Kevin Durant Warriors. The KD, Kyrie, James Harden were a super team, yeah, but they only played 16 games together, so they don't count. And if you look at the rosters Tatum has had since he was a rookie, again, you're talking to someone who's watched his whole career, none of them qualify as super team status. Are they good teams? Absolutely. But super team, got a year-by-year breakdown for you. So rookie year 2017 to 2018, rookie year Jayson Tatum was 55 and 27. That was the loss in the Eastern Conference Finals against LeBron's Cavalier year. The last year he was on the Cavs, where he dunked on LeBron in the finals. And then I'll never forgive Brad Stevens for not calling another play for the 19-year-old who just dunked on the best player ever, for reasons that I'm still unclear all these years later. I still don't have an answer for that one. But let's look at the roster. We got Gordon Hayward, who got injured 6 minutes into the first game. Kyrie Irving, who only played 60 games and didn't play a single playoff game. And the top 5 people who led the team in minutes were Jayson Tatum, Al Horford, Jaylen Brown, Terry Rozier, and Kyrie Irving, who again played 60 games. But the next year that I like to call the Celtics year from hell. 49-33, fourth in the Eastern Conference, lost in the Eastern Conference semifinals and 5 games to the Milwaukee Bucks. This is the year that everyone blames Kyrie for the Celtics self-destructing, but not this guy. This guy blames Brad Stevens, and let me tell you why. Brad Stevens' lack of understanding of team chemistry is what blew this team apart. Did Kyrie make it better? No, but we'll get to Kyrie in a second. Gordon Hayward, clearly not healthy, forced him back into the starting lineup, forcing Jaylen Brown on the bench, who was clearly a better player at that point, trying to fit his minutes with Jayson Tatum's minutes, who at that point was our second best player if we didn't know it yet. Bad chemistry all around, and as a head coach, goddammit, it is your responsibility to figure that out. At the time I'm recording this, the Mavericks and T-Wolves haven't played yet, so if they make the finals, we're gonna hear all about it. But I'm one of the Celtics fans that don't hate Kyrie Irving. I've only been mad at Kyrie Irving for 3 things. Number 1, he said at the season ticket holder meeting that he wants to stay with the team. He left the next summer.
The organization and everyone else in Boston, you guys will have me back. I plan on re-signing here next year.
Boom! Number 2, he gave up during the Milwaukee Bucks season. That's not speculation, that's a fact. Go watch the series. Clearly he gave up that series. And number 3, and this kind of summarizes everything, and it's my biggest issue. He came to Boston saying he wants to lead a team. He wants to be the captain. He wants the burden of leadership and to be the number 1 option. That might be a direct quote, actually. And the moment shit hit the fan, matter of fact, I'm going to insert the exact quote here.
I wanted to be the guy that led us to championship. I wanted to be the leader. I wanted to be all that. And, the responsibility of being the best player in the world and leading a team is something that's not meant for many people.
So the moment things hit the fan, Kyrie Irving tucked his tail, ran out of Boston, and he hasn't been a number 1 option since. He said, nah, too hard. I'm going to go play second fiddle to KD and now to Luka. But that's fine. That's in the past. So 2 years, no super team yet. Awesome. Now we got 2019 to 2020. The first year of no Kyrie, first year of Jayson Tatum as the number 1 option, also the bubble season. This is the first year that if you want to tell me that the Celtics should have made the finals, I feel like it's a reach, but I'm not going to argue with you. 48-24, third in the Eastern Conference. Jayson Tatum was 23.4 points a game, 7 rebounds, 6 assists. His first All-Star appearance, first of 5 straight. Third team All-NBA, lost in the Eastern Conference Finals in 6 to the Miami Heat. However, if you want to blame him for that one, 26.8 points a game, led all scorers, 9.8 rebounds a game, second in rebounders behind Bam Adebayo, and 6.3 assists a game. Bringing up Bam Adebayo reminds me of the most glaring highlight from that series, and the main reason why people put the blame on Tatum was when Tatum went for a game-winning dunk on Bam Adebayo, who was 2 inches taller than him, and Bam Adebayo rejected him at the rim. Hopefully, my Boston Celtics win this title so I can erase that from my mind. Look back at that roster. First year of us getting Kemba Walker to replace Kyrie Irving. That didn't turn out the way we thought it would. Jaylen Brown starting to emerge, still not an all-star yet. A lot of Daniel Tice minutes. Again, not a super team. 2020 to 2021. I forgot all about this year. This might have actually been the team from hell. The top 5 players in total minutes, before I get to the record and all that. Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, Kemba Walker, and Tristan Thompson. Just to give you a glimpse on how bad this season got. They were 36-36. Remember, this year was shortened because it was the year after the bubble and it was abbreviated. And 7th in the Eastern Conference. Lost in the first round in 5 games in the one series where that Kyrie, Harden, and KD Nets team actually all played together. Tatum that season, 26.4 points a game, 7.4 rebounds, 4.3 assists. Second straight All-Star appearance, first time as a starter. Rough year that year. But again, no goddamn super team. 2021 to 2022, 51-31, finished second in the Eastern Conference, made it to the finals, lost in the finals to the Golden State Warriors. Again, we'll get to the finals shortly. First team All-NBA for the first time. Third straight All-Star game, 26.9 points a game, 8 rebounds a game, 4.4 assists. Top 5 in total minutes, Jayson Tatum again. Oh, by the way, Jayson Tatum has led the team in minutes every year since he came into the league. So Jayson Tatum, Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, Al Horford, and Grant Williams, who has been on 3 teams in the past calendar year. Moving on, 2022 to 2023, that's last year, 57-25, finished second in the Eastern Conference, lost in the Eastern Conference Finals into Miami in 7 games. Top 5 in total minutes. Actually, I went all 6. Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum, Derek White, Grant Williams, Marcus Smart, Al Horford, Malcolm Brogdon. Today's standards of super team, that definitely ain't no big 3 Boston, KD Warriors, or Miami Heat, but sure. Second first team All-NBA, 4th straight All-Star year, 30 points a game, 8.8 rebounds, 4.6 assists. And then we get to this season. And this one is where Tatum even said in the press conference, people keep saying we have a super team, blah, blah, blah. And even I was cringed at that. Like, Jason, why? Let me as a fan say that. You can't say that. But sure, this season, 64-18. First in the Eastern Conference, best record in the NBA. And I heard someone say the Celtics have been the 1 seed every single year as a way to try to discredit the playoff success that the Celtics have had because people are weird about that. This is the first and only time that a Jayson Tatum-led Celtics team has been the number 1 seed in the East. I know, fuck me up too. I've been watching 70% of his games, and even I didn't know that fact. But the 64-18 record that the Celtics have right now, compare that to the best of the other super teams that we mentioned earlier. The Miami Heat season, 2012-2013, their best year, 66-16. They won the title. Big 3 Celtics, that first year, 2007-2008, 66-16, won the title. KD Warriors season, 2016-2017, 67-15, they won the title. This is the closest the super team status Jayson Tatum has ever been on. This team is stacked by all measures, by all accounts, and they play like it. Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kristaps Porzingis, Derek White, Drew Holiday, Al Horford. Then we start getting into Peyton Pritchard, Sam Hauser territory, and at that point, just take your pick. And Tatum this season, since it's such a stacked roster, numbers went down, but the efficiency went up in a real way. 26.9 points a game, but on his highest field goal percentage since his rookie year, where he was taking 10 less shots a game, which is nice. Career high in assists at 4.9 assists a game, 8.1 rebounds a game, first team All-NBA for the 3rd team in a row, and 5th straight All-Star. So, super team narrative, let's squash that. That's just not true. Shout out to Brad Stevens. Shout out to Danny Ainge. Appreciate y'all. You didn't build super teams. This year's the closest though. Next narrative. He chokes in the playoffs. False again. I could list all the ridiculous Tatum stats. He has the highest amount of playoff points for a player in their 7th year, or he's played in 107 playoff games. He's 63-44, highest winning percentage of that type for a player that hasn't won a title yet. Career averages 24.1 points a game. If you exclude the seasons where he was not a first option on the team, 26.7, 7.9 rebounds, 4.7 assists, 50 points to win a game against the Big 3 Nets. The only game in that series won where the second best player on that starting 5 was Tristan Thompson because everybody else was hurt, including Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart. Again, season from hell. Don't miss that season at all. 46 points on the road, game 6 against the then defending champion Milwaukee Bucks to save our season, followed by us winning the next game and then going to the finals eventually that year, which leads us to the finals. And look, you're not going to catch me saying Tatum didn't play that bad in the finals. He did. Tatum played poorly in the finals. There's no way around that. That 21 points a game on 35% shooting, absolutely basura, right? I will say this, though. The Boston Celtics did not lose those finals because Jayson Tatum played bad. They lost those finals because Steph Curry, one of the 10 best players ever, decided, hey guys, we're not losing, and then took over. The Celtics were up 2-1 at home with a lead in the 4th quarter with Jayson Tatum playing poorly, and then Steph Curry just decided to go into GOAT mode, and it was over. There was nothing left you could do after that. They won that game and the next 2, and it was done. And then the other one people can point to is going down 3-0 to the Heat last year. To that I say, one, before the series was the 51-point Game 7 against the Sixers, which is a record that still holds, by the way. 51 in the Game 7. Never been done before for Mr. Chokes in the playoffs. And won 3 straight, was in a position to come back from 3-0 for the first time ever in NBA history, turns his fucking ankle on the first play of the game. And I hate when y'all leave that out because it's so annoying. Calm down. But point still stands. The choking in the playoffs thing is just not true. I think a big thing of this is familiarity breeds contempt, right? So the Tatum and Brown duo have been together for 7 years, 545 games played, 360 total wins is the second most in that time span. Top 5 is the Bucks, Celtics, Nuggets, 76ers, and Clippers. None of those teams have a duo that's been together with the exception of Giannis and Middleton, but that's not really a duo, and that's not the duo that won him a chip. Drew Holiday and Giannis was. Tatum and Brown being together is the longest a duo has been together, with the exception of the Warriors trio. Just pick 2 out of Steph, Clay, and Draymond. They've been together forever. And all the teams that have won rings recently are teams who have made a major move added to their team, and then they ended up winning because of it, because that's the new player empowerment era way of winning championships. And I'm not mad at that. But the thing is, the Celtics way of a team keeping on going to the playoffs, losing once or twice or 3 times or 4 times, whatever, and then finally getting over the hump prior to 2010 is kind of the way it worked. We're holding the Celtics to a different standard because the modern NBA doesn't look like what the Celtics are doing as far as keeping the duo together and building around them until we get the product we're actually looking for, which is why every single summer or every time the Celtics go on a 2-game losing streak, it's, well, maybe we should break them up. No, you shouldn't. Keep them together. And then lastly is like the general Twitter troll diatribe. He's overhyped / insert player here is better. Whenever anyone goes on a run, it's someone's better. Jalen Brunson, SGA, Anthony Edwards. Hell, even when Jaylen Brown hit the game winner against the Pacers game 1, 2? Game 1. It was, are we sure Jaylen Brown isn't the best player on the Celtics takes? It's just night after night of, is such and such better than Jayson Tatum? Which I said in a prior podcast that to me, that just says that we all acknowledge that Jayson Tatum is the standard for great players, which is why y'all keep comparing people to him. I decided I'm going to take my bias out of it, and I'm going to rank who I think are the top 10 players in the league. If you're watching the video, they should be appearing on the screen now. If you're listening, number 1, I got Nikola Jokic. Number 2, Luka Doncic. Number 3, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Number 4, Jayson Tatum. Number 5, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Number 6, Anthony Edwards. Number 7, Joel Embiid. Number 8, Jalen Brunson. Number 9, Steph Curry. Number 10, LeBron James. You could tell me to flip Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Anthony Edwards, and 7 through 10, flip it however you want. I don't care. But that top 4 is solidified for me because the players I put above Jayson Tatum are the ones that are more accomplished than him. Because you're not going to tell me a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who just made it into his first playoffs and just won his first playoff series, promptly losing in the next round, is better than Jayson Tatum. You're not going to tell me Anthony Edwards, who's in his first conference finals, is better than Jayson Tatum, who's played in 100 playoff games. Even if he does come back from down 3-0. Don't care. He's not. This is a resume thing. And I also hear the, if you put Jayson Tatum on his own team, what would happen? And oh, if you put him up, take him off the Celtics and put him on the Hornets, what would it be? And I've always answered the same thing. His numbers would be significantly better. He's going for 30 a night for an entire season, like you're seeing with an SGA. I don't have a doubt in my mind about that, clearly. But would he win as much? No, of course not. Because nobody wins as much without a strong second option. Like you saw, to bring up SGA again, his ass is at home right now because his second option didn't show up. Does Jokic win a championship last year if Jamal Murray doesn't show up? No. We have 3 years of evidence of Jamal Murray being injured in the playoffs that confirmed that thought. Does Giannis win a title if they didn't trade for Jrue Holiday? No, because we have all their playoff failures prior that prove that point. There are no one-man shows that win titles in the modern era of the NBA. And if I really felt like digging before this podcast was recorded, I bet you I could find examples that it's never happened in the history of the NBA. So for all of you that root for these solo stars, these solo acts, and you're just waiting for them to carry their team to a title all by themselves with no all-star, all-NBA teammates, it's not gonna happen. The league doesn't work that way. Sorry to break it to you. All right, so in conclusion, so I can wrap this up. This segment already went way longer than I wanted it to. I think the Tatum disconnect comes in multiple phases. Number 1, we're in a narrative over facts generation. People hear things enough times, and if they already don't like a player, they're just going to agree with it. The playoff narrative took me 2 seconds to debunk. It would have took you a Google search to debunk. Oh, and I forgot to bring this up for the finals point. I'm not hearing the finals argument if you're comparing them to players who've never been to one. I'm not hearing it. And also, nuance is dead. Outside of this podcast, there is no nuance anymore. Even as a Celtics fan and Tatum being my favorite player, I can tell y'all he's not the best player in the world. I just told y'all he's 4th. There are stan pages dedicated to players. Stan pages that are built around covering and tweeting and posting about one player. That's unfathomable to me. The level of dick riding is insane to me, and they're proud of it. Bring back to the familiarity point. As we're watching all these other stars go on these runs, it's boring sports discourse to say, oh man, SGA and Anthony Edwards are incredible. They're the 6th best player in the league. That's boring. Not great basketball discourse. I feel it. If you look at those top 3 guys, you're going to look like an idiot trying to compare them to those 3. You're trying to say, I've been using SGA a lot. We're just going to keep using them. Trying to say SGA is better than 3-time MVP, last year's finals MVP, Nikola Jokic, you look dumb. You're trying to say he's better than walking 30, 10, and 10, 5 straight first-team All-NBAs, however much it is, Luka Doncic. No. You don't tell me he's better than 2-time MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, Finals MVP, Giannis Antetokounmpo? No. And then there leaves Tatum, who doesn't have an MVP or a Finals MVP. So he looks like the easier target, but he's still much more accomplished than everybody else y'all comparing him to. And you know what? It looks just as dumb. Quick break, and then we're going to get to our next topic. I got everything you need to know about the NCAA finally agreeing to pay the players. But it's a little more complicated than that, but that's why I'm here to make it simple. So first, I'll give you the background. The NCAA has been paying players since its inception under the guise of amateurism. They summarize amateurism as a student athlete should not be rewarded or allowed to accept financials for their athletic talents because that would affect their amateurism. They define amateurism as the practice of an activity, especially a sport, on an unpaid rather than a professional basis. So basically, their reasoning this whole time has been, so why aren't they paid? Because they're amateurs. Well, why are they amateurs? Because they're not paid. It's been flimsy from the beginning, but they've been able to get this off for a literal century. That was until the NIL lawsuit from 2021, where they finally admitted after being taken to the Supreme Court, fine, we won't stop other people from paying you anymore. Very important distinction. The NCAA still was never paying players, and for whatever reason, people thought NIL payments were coming from the schools directly. That was never true. It may have come from collectives that are alumni of the school, which is a whole separate conversation, but no, the schools were never directly paying the players. That might have changed this week though. So in a nutshell, the settlement payment y'all keep hearing about, the $2.77 billion, is a result of 3 lawsuits. House versus NCAA, Hubbard versus NCAA, and Carter versus NCAA. 3 former athletes, all represented by Jeffrey Kessler and Steve Berman. Jeffrey Kessler is a well-renowned athletes' right lawyer. He headed the lawsuit that started free agency in the NFL almost 3 decades ago, so he's been in this for a while. So, in summary, Jeffrey Kessler suing sports leagues is what he does, right? It's in his blood. So the NCAA's board of directors and the Power 5 conferences have agreed to the $2.77 billion settlement. That would include back pay to both current student athletes and former student athletes dating all the way back to 2016. That's across all Division I sports. Along with back pay though, starting in fall of 2025, this settlement opens the door for revenue sharing between the schools and the students. This is the interesting part. Athletes can be paid directly for their universities now. This is separate from NIL, which never came from the schools. This is a direct quote. I don't like messing this one up. So as a part of the revenue sharing agreements, student athletes will receive an estimated 22% or roughly $20 million of the average Power 5 school's media rights, sponsorship, and ticket sales. So that seems simple enough, right? Open and shut case, athletes are getting paid, people are getting back paid. Let's move on, right? Pump your brakes. Let's dig a little deeper. The plaintiffs have not agreed to the settlement yet, and the judge presiding the case has not approved this settlement yet. You're probably wondering why? Take the money, they agreed. Not so fast. If they take this settlement, athletes can no longer sue the NCAA, even if they're not included in the 2016 timeframe. Now I want you to think about all the iconic pre-2016 teams. The Fab Five of Michigan, Johnny Manziel's Texas A&M teams, the 2001 Miami Hurricanes, just to name a few. Also, the NCAA stands to lose 10 times that much. I'm not even exaggerating. 10 times that much if they go to trial. That might even be lowballing it, because the NCAA was founded in 1906, and they haven't been paying players for the entire time. So we're talking almost 120 years of not paying players at all. So if the back pay has to go back that far, the NCAA is just going to go bankrupt. And no more NCAA. They're going to have to form a new collegiate sports league some way, somehow. Because there will be college sports. It just won't be under the NCAA. Which is another one of the main reasons why this agreement hasn't been settled yet. Other cases are still ongoing that aren't these three that are represented by other legal teams. I believe the name is Fontenot versus the NCAA. And their legal team's like, yo, what the fuck? No, y'all are undercutting us. And they think that that settlement is actually lowballing the athletes. And I completely agree. 2016 just feels arbitrary. And also, I'm no lawyer. Just a little bit of legal advice, if I can. Just a little bit. If you're suing somebody and they accept your first settlement offer that quickly, it means one of three things. One, they're guilty as f***. Two, they want to avoid discovery at all cost. Or three, you have severely lowballed yourself. Also, that settlement doesn't define student athletes as employees, so they'd still have to fight for unionization, healthcare plans, pensions, 401ks, blah, blah, blah. And the NCAA would rather deal with it later. They're just worried about not getting sued. Don't get it confused. This settlement and the NCAA agreeing to pay this has nothing to do with them wanting to do right by the players. They're tired of getting sued on one hand, because they can't keep living like this, popping up at the Supreme Court and losing these lawsuits, because they've been losing every single one of them. And the other part of it is they're sick of these coaches complaining to them about how NIL is ruining the sport and all of their iconic coaches are leaving. And a lot of them are blaming the NIL landscape. The NCAA don't like that. And especially if discovery starts to come out and we start seeing these books publicly for the past 100 years, how much these athletes are really getting screwed, although some of this is public. You can actually see how much revenue that the NCAA earned last year. It was $1.3 billion, by the way. That's just 2022 to 2023. Multiply that by 100 and divide that in half. Because the players are mostly responsible, because ain't nobody showing up to see these stuffy old dudes in suits. We showing up to see some sports. Sane-minded people would be outraged if they saw how much money these athletes are really being cheated out of all these years. Key word there, though, is sane-minded. Because I know most college football fans, which I'm assuming you are if you're still watching or listening at this point, most, not all, tend to be rational people, because a lot of them have been drinking this amateurism Kool-Aid for decades now. And if you're one of those people that are concerned that the quote-unquote purity of the game is going to disappear, if players getting paid bothers you so much, I have three questions. First, do you watch professional sports? Two, does it bother you that they get paid for essentially doing the same thing? If you haven't noticed your own hypocrisy by now, how long have you been a loser? Now, for the sane-minded fans, here's how it's going to affect you. A lot of you are going to hear this. We're going to have to cut insert non-profit generating sport here. So Olympic sport, let's say track and field or swimming. Those don't produce at the same level as basketball, football, or even baseball at schools, lacrosse, whatever. Due to new payment rules, we can't afford to keep those in line, which is them telling on themselves because the wages they've been stealing from the football players and basketball players have been supporting all the other sports. Another thing you're going to hear is we now have to increase payment prices and ticket prices and merch prices, even though they've already been taxing y'all on merch and tickets, due to the new payment rules. First off, if your favorite school blames the new payment rules for anything, look up your athletic director and the president of the school's salaries and see if they took a pay cut, because I promise you they didn't. They would just much rather that the athletes or you take the hit as opposed to them. And the we have to cut other sports things is nonsense. Division II schools, Division III schools, NAIA, JUCO sports have been running for as long as the NCAA has been in existence, and don't nan one of them produce a profit. Not a one. I would know. I played Division III football. Our stadiums were packed. We still weren't generating. So these schools saying they can't afford to run these sports without revenues is a flat out lie. But for now, that's all we know. Anything else that I would say at this point would just be pure speculation, and I don't want to do that. But this is far from over. It's far from being a done deal. So many parties still have to agree. There's other lawsuits pending against the NCAA, especially if the 2016 is going to be the cutoff line. Because if I'm Jalen Rose, Chris Webber, and anyone associated with the Fab Five teams, I'm contacting my legal team right now. If 2016 is if they're finally admitting their revenue sharing and we've been doing this wrong, and y'all think you're going to stop at 2016 when we were the most famous college basketball team in the world for 2 years? Oh, hell no. Oh, no. Y'all owe me money. But that concludes today's episode of the Kev BK Beloved Show. I've been Kev BK Beloved. Thank you so much for listening. That was so corny. I'm sorry.